And we are live. Hi guys. This time it should be about downswings, and yeah, I am a professional gambler. My name is Praios, and yeah, we will talk about downswings. This is a very difficult topic, and everyone who is a professional gambler or player and tries to make money playing poker or in the casino or whatever has these streaks where they seem to only lose and nothing goes your way. And yeah, today we want to talk about how we could deal with these bad streaks. And yeah, we will also hear about this from another expert, Phil Galfond. I didn't watch this video in advance, so I'm very excited to find out what he is thinking. But first, I will give you my thoughts. Yeah, downswings are inevitable. So yeah, you will have one sooner or later. But especially in poker, where you can increase your win rate by working hard and learning very much about the game, and where you can also pick your spots very well, so only play in soft games, your downswings shouldn't be that bad. I mean, you could use a variance calculator or something, and then you will find out how bad you expect to be your downswings to be. So for example, if you are like a 1 BB winner, your downswings will be massive. But if you are a 10 BB winner, you probably will not expect to lose over 100k hand samples. So yeah, hi OMFGHDB. So yeah, and how to deal with downswings is very hard to say. I mean, most people then think that they have to work on their game and then start to study, and when things are going well, they do nothing, basically. That's obviously a wrong approach. I mean, it's very human to assume that you are doing something wrong once the results are not going your way, but in reality, you should work on your game all the time and not only when you are running bad. But yes, that's how humans work. I mean, as long as things are going well, people are more lazy, at least I think so. I mean, I usually work very hard, no matter if in a downswing or not. Yeah, I have a few guys in my in the poker players I talk to, and which I know very well, and they usually try to come up with new study ideas and stuff once they lose a lot. So yeah, don't fall in this trap and try to be consistent. And yeah, another way to deal with downswings is to make breaks or play shorter sessions. Because yeah, if you are on a downswing, you usually play worse, and this will also lower your win rate. And yeah, if you take some breaks, you will be doing better after like a week break when you are not that tilted anymore and things are in the past. So over time, your brain will adjust, and then yeah, you will feel better. But if you are still tilted and do your next session like half an hour before you lost a lot, then it's very likely that you will go on tilt way more easy when waiting a bit of time. So yeah, so these are the main things people do to handle downswings. Not sure what else you can do. I mean, you could talk to other people, get a psychology coach. I mean, I never had one, but I know some people think that this is helpful. I can't imagine it is, but yeah, I'm also like a very analytical thinker and don't let emotions get too close to me usually. So that's how I'm wired, and other people might find this very helpful. Yeah, unfortunately, I think I might not have been that helpful, but maybe the master himself, the Galfond, has some more tips and tricks. Also, another thing would be, on a downswing, you will often be tilted and not be able to play A game anymore. And if the session is going bad again, you will not be playing A game, maybe not even B game, but C game. But you might still not be able to quit. I mean, it's very rational to quit, especially if the games are not too good. But let's make an example. If you have like the greatest whale on your table, you probably don't want to quit. I mean, even if you play your C game, you're probably still better than the whale. Let's say this is also heads up. So I would never quit a guy like this, for example. But yeah, under normal circumstances, and if the games are not too amazing, you should definitely quit once you recognize that you are very heated and not making your decisions with your brain anymore, but yeah, your emotions take over. Yeah, I think I already said that maybe, but let's move on to the master.
Hey, this is Phil. Today we're going to talk about dealing with downswings.
Hey, Phil.
As a longtime poker professional, I have dealt with my fair share of bad runs, downswings, and I've dealt with some of them publicly too. I've been in large public challenges and with all eyes on me, and I
think also often people use downswings as an excuse because often, let's face the reality, it's not a downswing. You are just too bad for the games you are playing in. So maybe your opponents are just way better skilled than you, and that's why you are losing, and not because you are unlucky. Or maybe you have some tells or something. So yeah, that's also something. In poker, it's very easy to always think that if you are losing, that it's just because of bad luck, and if you are winning, obviously this is only because you are a very skillful player. And yeah, in the reality, luck and bad fortune play a huge role. And yeah, it's very easy to lose all your money to a guy which you think you are better, but you are just unlucky and therefore losing. And yeah, so don't use downswings as an excuse. Try to be as objective as possible. And if you are continuously losing to one guy, maybe he's not bad, but you are. So, I mean, I had these situations often in the past where I was losing a lot to some random dudes, and I was like, what the fuck? This guy is very, very bad, but for some reason I'm not able to beat him. And usually I ended up not playing anymore against this guy. I mean, this is just a secure measure. I mean, often I was very sure that I beat him, but there could be a lot of other stuff involved that I don't see. Maybe I'm just too subjective and don't see that he actually has edge. This is one thing why it might be necessary to quit. And another thing is, maybe he's cheating, for example. He knows your whole cards or something. So that's another reason why it might be reasonable to not play players anymore, which you can't beat for whatever reason. I mean, the player pool, if you don't play ultra sky stakes, is huge, and you don't have to battle with the same guy over and over again if you can play other guys which are not giving you that hard time. So yeah, moving on with Mr. Phil Galfond.
Crushed for a long time. I'm remembering one specifically.
Middle, if any calls, it's going to be a 76,000 euro pot. Does make the call.
Okay, top two make the call. And yeah, Phil has the busted draw.
But I do often get asked about how I deal with downswings. How do I stay even keeled? And the truth is, I'm human like everybody else, and dealing with losses is hard. It's emotionally tough. especially in poker when it's your career. You have this vision in your head of how the year, the month, the year, the decade might go for you, and all of a sudden you had this vision of how much you were going to make this year, how good you were compared to your competition, and not only have you lost a bunch, but now you start to question that, and you start to question, oh, okay, well, first of all, I lost all this money. Second of all, does this mean I can't beat these games? Does this mean
Also, another remark to this: never underestimate variance. Variance is way bigger than you think. I mean, I was going on very crazy heaters and also huge downswings, which I never imagined were possible before it happened to me. So yeah, when you are, let's say you think you want to win, like let's say 500k a year. I mean, this is a very high figure. Let's just make an example. And it might be that you are like break even 3 months, then you lose 100k, then you win like 150k, and then the last month you all of a sudden win like 350k. So it's very insane, and swings are enormous.
I have to move down, and now I am only going to make maybe I have to move down, and maybe my win rate's lower than I thought. Maybe I'm going to make a quarter as much as I thought I was going to make this year. And so it's not only the money that you've already lost, but it's all the future earnings that you've lost in your mind, and dealing with that from first of all, the loss perspective, but then confidence perspective is really tough. It takes practice. You get better kind of automatically over time. But I think the key is when you're out there kind of asking people what you should do.
I remember when I started playing poker, when everybody was way worse. It played so bad sometimes when I was on a downswing. I lost like half my roll and stuff. I was so extremely tilted. And yeah, I was like, oh, fuck it, just get the money in. I mean, he probably has it again, but yeah, top pair, top kicker has to be good this time. And yeah, basically it never was. When you have these feelings like, okay, take the rest. No, it doesn't. Things don't matter anymore. It's probably a good point to quit for this day.
To deal with the downswing, it's good to get input from other people, but everybody's different. Different things work for different people, and so what I like to do when I'm talking to others is ask what works for them, and then I kind of think about it. From my own perspective, I know myself, and I know what matters to me and what might help me. So I'll talk a little bit about some things that I do. The first thing I usually do is take a break. Sometimes it's one day, sometimes it's a week.
Yeah, breaks are. I mentioned breaks already, and this is like the first thing that comes to mind for like everybody.
Obviously, it depends on your situation. Depends if you are.
I hope he has better tips. Let's see.
Depending on like your rake back for that week, or like maybe you still can earn and you're depending on that money, so you just have to keep grinding it out. I don't know your situation, but usually taking a break, getting some perspective works very well for me. And I have a friend who has given me business advice a number of times, and he always says, never waste a good crisis, which apparently is I thought it was something he made up, but it's a Winston Churchill quote. It applies in poker too, and what it basically means is, when things are going well, it's easy to coast. We think we're just going to keep winning. We think we're going to keep succeeding, whatever the case may be. When something goes wrong,
I hope he has some useful advice too. I mean, this is 20 minutes video, and we are like 3 minutes in, and I did not hear anything useful yet.
We start to question all that. We feel extra motivation. Sometimes it exposes weaknesses in ourselves, in our, I always think of it from a work perspective, because this is when my friend gives me the advice, but it exposes kind of inefficiencies, whether it's with the way you set things up for your company, the ways you've set things up for yourself. working or studying and learning poker or executing, whatever the case may be. And so take the opportunity. What I do is take the opportunity when I'm feeling that extra motivation and that lack of confidence to work extra hard. And not only does that, improve your expectation going forward, because you're getting better.
Yeah, that's what I said most people do when they're on a downswing. They question their game and finally start improving and studying and getting into stuff and improve. But yeah, it's stupid that it needs a downswing in order to do that.
But it also combats the lack of confidence that can come with a downswing. If you're just taking a break and then you come back to it, thinking, oh, that was probably just bad luck, and then you lose again, your confidence is going to be shaky. It's going to get shot pretty quickly. The fact of the matter is, in poker, there's a ton of variance, and you might be the best player in the game you play, and you might lose for 2 weeks, and that just happens. And that might be the explanation.
Yeah, that's what I said. Variance is huge and way bigger than you think. I mean, let's make another anecdote and a story of like probably the worst downswing in stacks I ever had. I played this huge fish and I lost in like 3 hours or something. I lost 50 stacks to him. 50 fucking stacks in PLO heads up. And I mean, the variance was bigger than normal because this guy was always like, okay, let's flip. And I was like, okay, I have to keep him happy. And so we flipped from time to time. He usually won all these flips. A flip is when you just go all in pre-flop no matter what your cards are. And I also found it very helpful to do the flipping because this guy in the end had a 50k stack on PLO 1k. And I found the flipping very helpful to get deeper, and my edge should increase even more when we are deep. And I remember there were so many situations where we played like 5k, 10k spots, and I always was ahead like 60%, 70%, 80%, but he kept on winning. And yeah, I was also the EV shown in my hold'em manager was positive, but I was simply not able to beat this guy. And yeah, after like 3 hours or something, he hit and ran me. This was so fucking annoying. By the way, he wasn't just good or something. The day later, he came back and we only played like 1.5 hours or something, and he lost 30k back to me. And then, yeah, he probably kept the remaining 20k or something, but at least I was able to get a little revenge.
And you go back and you play again, you lose again, and now you've lost confidence again, and perhaps you shouldn't have this whole time. And perhaps you spend a week away from the game and you spend a week studying, and it improves you by 0.5%, like barely improves you. You come back, you take that loss, you have similar expectation as you would have had you not studied, potentially, but your confidence is stronger. You can withstand it more. So even, hopefully you improve more than that, but there's a bit of a placebo effect in this case too, where I think if we know that we're doing all we can to work, and we've kind of, even if it's not learned, but it's just solidified your confidence in what you've done so far, or the way that you play already, there's a lot of value in that. And another thing that my breaks really help me with is resetting mentally. And I don't mean from a dealing with being sad or stressed about the downswing. I mean, you used to have this much money. You were playing these stakes and you felt like you were beating these players, and you had goals that were higher than that. And now you have less money. You might have to move down. Your goals might have to move down. And so if you continue to play, trying to get back to where you were quickly so that you can go to where your goals used to be, you're just setting yourself up for a losing battle. And so what the break usually does for me is I say, okay, well, now this is where I am. now my goal is to start rebuilding from here. My goal is not to get to where my previous goal was, because that's now too lofty a goal for me right now. And when you can make that reset in your mind,
Feels like he's just rambling. I mean, when is he saying something helpful?
and you're not.
I mean, this is more like, this is how I feel when I am dealing with a downswing. But give us some useful tips, guy.
Trying to get even, you're just starting fresh and kind of building. It helps me, at least, with motivation quite a bit. I do think part of knowing yourself is knowing what drives you to play poker in the first place. A lot of the time I'll find that my actions don't match my true goals. So I will feel this, just an example, I'll feel a huge pressure to put in a lot of hours because there's a pretty good game right now and it may go away. So I'm just going to grind. And I'm letting some other areas fall behind. I let my health fall behind. I spend less time with my family. I'm not improving my game. But if you were to take me aside before then, after then, at some point and say, what's really important to you in poker and in life, and say, well, my family is number one. Somewhere rounding out the top 5 is going to be, things like health, happiness, friendships. And then from a poker perspective, what's really important to me is the.
So where is poker in this list? Yeah, I mean, I think hearing it from him might not be that helpful. I mean, if you are a grinder who has like whatever 20k bankroll, you cannot focus primarily on your family, health, friendship, and all the other stuff he mentions. You just need to make the money. And yeah, you can say things like that if you are not needing this money every month to survive. But so you need a good and high bankroll in order to set your priority like he does. So I think he probably forgot that. And I think it's actually reasonable to play a lot when a big game is going on, because often it is the case that huge fish comes up, he plays until he's broke, and then he's gone. And yeah, you'd have to be around in order to get this money. And yeah, if you are not around and doing some other stuff, whatever, this money will be going to the other regulars.
Competition and being as good as I can be, getting as good as I can get. And when I'm sitting there in that game, essentially, feeling obligated and stressed because I'm obligated to just keep playing and grind out as many hours as I can, let all these other things, fall aside. I'm not working towards achieving any of my like true goals. And I think it's really easy to lose sight of that. And I don't necessarily have a solution that is always.
Yeah, you have always be balanced in life, I guess. That's what he's trying to say. I mean, you cannot work all the time. You also have to have some pleasures, friends, family, all that stuff. But yeah, you also have to make your money somehow. And I guess also your family should understand when there is a big game going on where you have to grind very much and put in a lot of hours for like a limited amount of time, let's like say 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. And then you can take a break and play less or do a vacation or something afterwards. So I think everyone will be happy and the situation of the whole family is better afterwards. So I don't really get the point.
In the moment gonna fix that for you, because we are gonna make emotional decisions. We're gonna get into a spot and feel like, okay, I have to focus everything.
Greetings, all what I have.
On this, or my friend is studying this and like getting really good at this, so I don't want to fall behind. I'm jealous of what they've been doing. I want to do this. So I mean, the only thing you can do is really every once in a while, maybe you put it in your calendar, revisit your goals. So maybe at one point you sit down, maybe with a friend. I think it's helpful to talk with somebody else, talk about what's important to you, and then you can write that in a document. And
let's talk about goals. You read everywhere that it's very good to have fixed goals, like short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. And people who set goals are way more successful than people who don't. But I did not found this helpful for me at all at any point. I never had any predefined goals. I mean, I was like, okay, I want to earn a lot of money. I want to get very good in PLO and stuff like that. But it was not a fixed goal like I want to make 1 million. It was just I want to be good and I want to make the most I can, but not like a fixed number. And I think sometimes setting goals also is not that helpful. Because when you underperform, you will be very unhappy. And if you underperform, you will also be pressured to do a lot more. And if you overachieve, you will lose motivation and like, okay, I already achieved it, so I can take vacation for the rest of the year. If you did it after like, let's say, 2 months. I mean, I have a friend who was like, I have to make 10K every month. And it was back in the day where it was very easy to make money when playing poker, and he stick to that goal. He made like 10K, and sometimes it was like 2 days, 3 days of grinding, and then he took the rest of the months off. When he returned the next month, and this was so stupid because these good days are never coming back. And if he would have grinded more back in the day, he would be way better off now, and he could now take like years off because games are not as juicy anymore and way worse. Okay, we got a recommendation. Seems to be a German book because Klarheit is a German word. For goals, tracking, journaling, and life management. I think keeping a journal or tracking results is obviously important. I mean, Hold'em Manager, for example, is a very, very good book. And not good book, but a good program, and where you can see your stats, see your results, keep track of the results, also can analyze your game, see where your leaks are. For example, if your 3-bet is like 15% in a ring game, it's obviously too high, and you know where to work on. And if you don't have these statistics, it's hard to improve because you don't see the leaks.
Put in your calendar every 2 months, I'm going to go look at what I said was important to me, and ask.
In terms of life management, I think I was almost always bad in that. I mean, usually I was, or often I was favoring like the money or my career over other non-monetary stuff. And you also need to know what you want to do with your life. I mean, for some people it can be okay to favor the career, but if you are a guy who just wants a family, don't need much money, you probably should not put most focus on your career.
Myself, first of all, are these the things that are still important to me? Usually they will be. And then second of all, are my actions.
So you used this calendar for yourself and it was helpful for you. I mean, it's also like, it's not like that there is one perfect method for everyone. For each individual, other things are helpful and help them. A concept that might be very, very good for me might not work for another guy. And the other way around.
am I acting in accordance with this priority list? And usually you won't be if my experience tells me anything. One thing you can do is check out a poker variance calculator. And this is something that I'll do during my downswings as well. And actually, this brings up a couple of very important points. So firstly, you can go to, I believe it's Prime Dope Poker Variance Calculator. If you type that into Google, you'll find what you're looking for. And you can enter your expected win rate. You can enter your observed win rate. So what has been happening. You can enter the number.
Oh yes, let's do that. You need to open up. Oops. Let's try to do that. Okay, let's get back to this, but I will try to locate a poker variance calculator on the other screen. Oh yeah, it's... So here it is. Let's see if it's true what I said. I'm not sure about the standard deviation. So this is 100. This is a preset standard deviation. Let's assume that this is correct, and let's see how bad you can run in 100k hands with only 1 VB win rate. Is this thing already doing something? Okay, I should have had more patience. Okay, you can see if you have 1 BB win rate, you will end up losing a ton. Even after 100k hands, you can easily be down like, I mean, the worst one was down 80 stacks. And yeah, but let's now change this to a 10 BB win rate. Then you will basically never end up losing. So improving your win rate does so much. And yeah, you basically can expect to be never down after 100k hands if you are that good. I mean, I think 10 VB is probably unrealistic in today's game, but you can achieve 5 VB win rate. Let's see how this would look. I mean, I'm also not sure. I think the standard deviation might be bigger. Yeah, I mean, most of these lines are above the 0 point, so you will still lose occasionally, but most of the time you will be in the green with a 5 BB win rate. But what is the average rack? Like 2 or 3 big blinds per 100? So these guys have way greater swings, so this also will help your game a lot because you will tilt less and yeah, will be and this will put you to your B and C game, and then this will even accelerate downwards. Yeah, bye. I hope you will watch the rest once you return. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the video.
Of hands played, and then you have to enter the standard deviation, which is something you can look up for the type of game that you're playing. And it'll tell you how likely is it, if I'm right about how much I'm winning in this game, that, starting 4,000 hands ago, I would have ended up here or worse. And it'll tell you, oh, that's 25% likely. If that's 25% likely, this isn't too abnormal. It might say, oh, this is 2% likely. And then you're like, oh, wow. So I'm either getting really unlucky or I'm wrong about one of my assumptions. And this is one of the most important topics about downswings is, sometimes you're getting unlucky. And sometimes you're getting unlucky and playing worse as a result. But sometimes you were not as good as you thought compared to your competition in the first place. And if you are not aware of that possibility.
Yeah, I mean, this happens a lot when you just are overconfident. I mean, this is a trap many poker players fall into. They think that they are the best and nobody can beat them. And yeah, these guys who have that big of an ego will usually get crushed. I mean, I had these death games. well, how could you say this? Like heads up for roll games. I mean, a few times in my career, and I might have ended like 2 or 3 people's careers. I mean, there were people that probably thought that they had a huge edge against me because I usually was bum hunting. But yeah, at some point I got pretty good in heads up, and some people I just played because I thought, yeah, I'm a lot better. And then this guy also thinks that he's a lot better, and he's wrong. It can go downhill for him very much. I remember at least one guy who lost a lot to me on the biggest stake he was sitting at. It was like PLO 2K. He lost like, what did he lose to me? I think he probably lost 50 to 100K. And yeah, I never saw him again. Not sure what happened to him. But I think this probably was such an ego thing. And he just couldn't tell himself that he is actually worse. And he also didn't find the point to stop. He was maybe he was at like a point of no return somehow, and then was like, fuck it, I just have 10k left, and this guy clearly is bad, so I have to continue play him. And yeah, that's just bad. So don't let this happen to you. Even if you think that the guy is way worse than you should quit at some point when the results just saying something different. At least that's what I did, and I was doing quite well having this approach.
You're deluding yourself, because like top 10 players in the world will play against each other because both of them think they're the better player, and one of them is wrong. And these are the absolute best players in the world. So, poker, because of variance, is built so that people don't really know where they stand. And if
Interesting. He says the same thing I was saying, but in different words. And yeah, he's also a native speaker, so his argumentation probably is better than mine.
Poker were chess, people wouldn't play each other for big money because people would know where they stood. So variance is kind of a necessary element of a game where people bet against each other, and it's a beautiful part of poker. It's makes poker what it is, but it can be difficult. But
yeah, you have to have games like poker where luck also is a huge factor in order to have way worse people play against way better ones, because they just underestimate the advantage the other guy has, or even think that they are better. So in this way, poker is a great game because people can clash, although one is a lot better, but both might think that that he has the edge.
So how do you evaluate, whether or not you have the edge you thought you had? That one is tougher. Because, if I could tell all you, make sure you're a very self-aware person. For those of you who are not very self-aware, it's not going to help you. So I think
being self-aware and not subjective but objective helps a lot. And also a skill you need, not only in poker but for life, is that you can analyze and find your mistakes and learn from them, because a lot of people simply don't learn from their mistakes, and also think like, if he is the boss in the company, he's like, nobody can say me anything, and I'm the boss, and I don't take advice. And this is an approach which is so bad, and also very bad for poker.
The best thing to do is get involved with a community of poker players, whether that be a poker forum, poker Discord channels, a kind of poker study group that you can find somewhere. Join poker training sites.
I think it's not really necessary anymore to do all these steps. In the world of solvers, you can figure out most things on your own. And yeah, in my experience, also, it helps most when you build the success on your own. And I never was having a huge network or something with other players. Also, usually these training groups and stuff, there's like one guy who does a lot of work and the others don't do anything. And when the one guy who does that much gets frustrated and then stops posting anything, well, everyone is afraid to give away too much information and nobody posts good advice anymore. So yeah, in my experience, this stuff does not help that much. I mean, training sites are great when you are on a intermediate level or something, but once you are at a high level, it's just not helping anymore.
And own one. So you can go Google. I'm not going to plug my own stuff. You can go Google what the best ones are.
Run it once. By the way, I also have a referral link for Run It Once and PLO. What is it called? Good question. Aside from Jay Nendes, what's the name again? PLO Mastermind. Yeah, I got referral links for that. But yeah, if you want to check these sites out, I recommend using them if you are not on this high level and yet. But yeah, when you are a pro already, it probably does not help that much anymore. At least it never helped me that much. But yeah, people learn differently, and I also know other pros that learn most from this side. So maybe I mean, I think it's not that helpful, but PLO Vision or PLO Trainer, I think these programs from the two sites mentioned are very helpful. And if you want to get your game to the next level, you should use these ones and not watch videos. I mean, yeah, study on your own, and this at least helped me always the most. I mean, if you don't know how to use these programs, you probably need to watch some introductional videos, or it's probably even way better if you get a coach who shows you all this in a few hours, because figuring the stuff out on your own will take you way more hours, and so it's worth paying a coach. So yeah.
The other thing you do is hire a coach. I think probably.
Interesting. He says the same. Hire a coach. Yeah, but in a different. Yeah, it was not the same thing I was talking about.
Hiring a coach would be the most reliable of all of these things to check whether you are where you think you are.
I think also hiring a coach often is not that helpful, because often you think like one player is very, very good and has very good reputation, but once you talk to him and get a coaching, you are like, what the fuck? This guy does not know what he's doing. I mean, I heard from other players that this happened to them and they paid like $500 an hour or something. And yeah, but if you pick the right coach, it should be helpful. But yeah, there are also some people where you just think that they are great because the results appear to be great, but once you talk to them, you see that they have no clue what they are doing.
Obviously, part of that is picking the right coach and somebody who's a strong player and has a strong understanding. But getting somebody else involved, looking at the hands you've played, talking to you, and hearing your reasoning behind why you make the plays you make, why you think you're better than this opponent, or whatever the case may be, and getting that.
Yeah, a lot of this is just not happening anymore because everyone tries to be a human solver, and then you just have to play very close to the things the solver suggests.
Either verification or reality check or somewhere in between is the easiest way to figure out where you stand. because, if you're a favorite in the game and you've lost a lot of money, you're on a bad run, you're unlucky. If you're an underdog in the game and you've lost a lot of money, it's just what was supposed to happen. And so all the advice of you can fight through this, just keep going, believe in yourself. It's not going to work if you're losing in the game, because it's terrible advice. If you're losing in the game, you're going to keep losing. Now, obviously, some people play poker for fun. Even I play in games where I think I'm an underdog because I find it fun and I want to learn. I want to challenge myself. So I'm not saying if you're an underdog, stop playing poker. Just if you're an underdog, try to make yourself aware.
I wonder in which games you think he's an underdog. Yeah, maybe in another format, but in PLO he's not an underdog in many lineups.
And make the best decisions you can. One thing I should add about, when you're looking at how unlikely your downswing might have been according to your assumptions, is the difference between 2% and 25%. At 25%, you wouldn't need to question your previous assumptions very much. At 2%, it's very possible 2% of the time that was going to happen.
Math, beautiful thing.
That happens all the time. 2%ers happen all the time, as poker players know. But for those familiar with Bayesian probability, or I guess for those who aren't, essentially, the way Bayesian probability works, you look at your kind of prior probabilities. So, for example, I'll say, okay, well, I think I'm probably I think I'm a 5 big blind favorite in this game, and I'd say that I'm 80% sure I'm a 5 big blind favorite. And then, there's 5% chance that I'm, as much as a 10 big blind favorite. And then above that, another 5% chance that I'm a 15 big blind favorite. But then below that, there's a 5% chance that I'm break even and a 5% chance that I'm a loser in the game. And then you have the result, what happens. And the way it works, we're not going to do the math on this call because I'm not capable of doing it in my head. Essentially, you look at, okay, if this case were true, how likely is it that we would have ended up here? And if this case were true, how likely is it that we would have ended up here? If this case were true, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a formula that you use to shift the kind of new probabilities. I forget the post. I don't know.
Nice editing.
I took it a long time ago. But essentially, there is actual math you can do. I don't think is necessary to actually do that math. But what you should think about conceptually is, how confident was I beforehand in this? What were the other possibilities? How confident should I have been? What was that based on? Was it?
Yeah, that's why I sometimes quit people that I think were terrible, because I was pretty sure that I got the edge, but the results said something else. So I was just like, okay, there are different spots coming up and maybe better ones on this one. And I cannot risk more money on this where I'm not sure anymore if I actually can beat him.
Based on, I've been playing for 4 years in this same exact game, and this is my win rate. So I have a ton of evidence of that. Because in that case, there's a much higher percentage chance. I mean, your 80% sure that I'm a 5 big blind winner is a huge amount. But maybe if I have all that data, I should be that confident. But if you were just starting out in that game and you're like, well, the players seem a little bit bad, I think I know what I'm doing, so I'm probably a 5 big blind winner. You should be realistic with yourself and say that, maybe that's 10% likely. And there's this whole spectrum of things that could be true. And now the evidence over 10,000 hands is actually telling you something that you need to listen to. It's not a guarantee, of course, but it should shift your kind of new outlook from your prior outlook.
Yeah, great advice. I mean, he probably explained it better than I did, but was talking about the same thing.
But yeah, so conceptually, it's how sure was I of these things? How damning is this evidence? Did I play for one day and lose 2 buy-ins? Because that's meaningless. But did I play for a year and lose consistently and lose, half my money? Then it starts to be more meaningful. And based on those things, you come up with the likelihood that you stand where you thought you stood, the likelihood that you stand elsewhere. And then you can factor in other things there's not a mathematical formula for this that I'm aware of, but you can think about, okay, well, I thought I was here. I played these hands. It hasn't gone how I hoped. And maybe it's only like a 3% chance that I would have had these results or worse, given where I thought I was. But you know what? I've seen middle set run into top set 20 times in a month. I've seen this player who's won most of my money play a hand like this, play a hand like this, play a hand like this. And actually, in the example I just came up with, you might need to ask yourself if you're being cheated.
And you also need to be honest with you also need to look in the hands of yours where you did a terrible play or where you had set over set to your advantage and stuff.
But things like that you can look at and say, like, okay, well, the variance calculator is only telling you like how unlucky you've gotten over this time to have achieved those results if you were right. But if you've witnessed a lot of things over time that are indisputably very unlucky, then that becomes more of a likely scenario that, I actually have gotten that unlucky. Now, in that, be aware that everybody's bias is to remember the unlucky moments and forget about the lucky moments.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why for example, if you have a holder manager database, you could go through all this stuff and then you could actually see if you got lucky more often or unlucky. Yeah, this could be, you saying, okay, it's still fine or it's not fine because I actually got lucky but still doing bad, or the other way around.
Perhaps a super lucky moment, like you played the biggest pot of your life and you had only 2 outs and they hit on the river. You'll remember that. But don't forget that, if we get all in and I'm a 70% favorite and I win, I got a little bit lucky. I wasn't entitled to 100% of that pot. I was entitled to 70.
By the way, here is the story where Phil Galfond got a little bit lucky on me. You can also see this video somewhere on the internet. I don't want to mention the site because I'm not a big fan of the site anymore, but I made a coaching video for this site. And it was basically me shot taking at NL 100K like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. My hand, ace, Phil's hand, ace king. And I think he called a 4-bet or he called a 3-bet only. And I think I wasn't even that deep. I was like 80 BB deep or something. And the flop came king something. So he had the king only, but he also had the flush draw. This was a monochrome board. He has ace king offsuit. Yeah, and we get it in on the flop. On the flop, he was actually like flipping or something. But pre-flop, this was obviously very lucky that he was hitting this flop with his ace king. And obviously my shot did not went well and I lost. Luckily, I had 50% sold to a friend, but still, this was a huge pot and I was definitely not rolled for this game. So this was an unlucky moment. I still remember from the beginning or early in my career.
80% of it. And if I've won 6 out of 6 70%ers, now I've gotten quite lucky because I'm not supposed to do that. And so be aware that you're going to have that bias no matter how aware you are, how smart you are. You're going to have that bias that it feels like you've gotten more unlucky than you have. And that's where things like data helps. If you're playing online, you can look at your hands in a tracker. You can look at all the biggest pots you played and see, how many have I. Well, first of all, trackers can calculate all-in expected value. So of all the all-ins I played, I was supposed to end up with this much money. I ended up with this much. So that's how unlucky I've gotten in all-ins. But then you can look at all the big pots you played. You can look at all the times you've flopped a huge hand and whether you've run into another huge hand or a slightly worse hand and won. All of those things can help you kind of gauge the luck factor a little bit. But as I'm saying all this, I think go back to the variance calculator and focus more on that, because that's just going to be more reliable. That's not going to be influenced by our weak human mind.
Yeah, I think another tip, somehow you can look into all the hands you played in Hold'em Manager, and there is a way to get the standard deviation displayed, and then you could enter the correct amount and do these calculations and see what is still considered unlucky and what is not unlucky anymore, but you probably don't have a win rate that high.
And biases. The last thing that I like to do, and it's really part of taking a break, but it's to spend time doing other things, which I guess if you're taking a break, you're forced to, but spend time with other people, kind of experience the rest of your life, because especially if you're playing full time, poker can feel like your whole world. And you're doing this like maybe 10 hours a day for a month. And if you're losing, it can feel like you're just losing at life. And so getting the perspective of, oh, this is an element of my life. And I have this thing that I care about. I have this other thing that I care about.
Yeah, but don't talk to normal people about poker and downswings and all this shit, because normal people usually don't understand, and normal people will just tell you their boring downswing stories or their conspiracy theories that you always lose when depositing on PokerStars, but on GG everything is better, some shit like that. So don't, at least in my experience, it's not that helpful to get into the poker topic with people who are like, let's say, normal people.
I have this other thing that I care about. I know poker's a game, and it's my career. It's my career, but it's money. It's not everything. I don't know if that's somewhat unique to me as like a game player and a very competitive person, but it can really just feel like when you're playing, it can just feel like the entire world. And in reality, it's not. And getting that perspective is really helpful. Hey, thanks for watching. I am really looking forward to seeing what you thought, both of this video itself, the content that I covered, and the structure of it. Really any feedback you have altogether, positive and negative. I'm figuring this out as I go. I'm mostly...
I think it was not that well structured and not that many good tips to deal with downswings, and you had to read a bit between the lines. And but still, if you watch it through and focus on this stuff, it was still good, and a lot of good input, and you could learn a bit. So that's my feedback, in case he's watching my video, which he probably is not. I hope he's not, what is it? I hope I don't get like copyright infringement or something for using like his complete video.
Making videos that I find interesting thus far, but it's really going to come down to what people like you like to see, and the way that I'm going to learn that is primarily through your feedback in the comment section below. I guess you can probably reach me on Twitter or elsewhere as well. If you see me on the street, feel free to stop me. Please stop me and critique this video.
Yes, I will stalk you, come to Canada, wherever you live, and stop you on the street and talk to you about your downswing.
Yeah, but very much looking forward to that, and I'll see you next time. This is Phil. Take care. Hey.
Yeah, okay. This was it. yeah, it's also. I don't have more points to make. Yeah, I hope this was interesting and you learned something and you now can deal better with downswings. Yeah, this was praios. Thanks for watching. Yeah, good luck at the tables. Until next time. And yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to click all these beautiful buttons, bell notification, subscribe, like. Yeah, you know what I mean. And yeah, don't forget to follow on Twitch. Bye.